may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay guys, if y'all have not watched one of these videos before by us, please let me explain the premise of the video. We are going to be covering 5 wide receivers that saw their value drastically rise from their week 7 performances. I am not saying we should go out there and trade for these players specifically. Some of them I will be willing to make our trade targets. We won't care that their price increased, and we will go out there and try to buy them, but others we will try to sell high based off of their performance. So please, if one of these players that made this list makes our sell list tomorrow, do not go out there and say, you lost all credibility. You just called this player a fast riser and now are saying you should sell them. Because guys, everything in fantasy football is about value. So we are trying to track that value and compare it to the rest of season projections that we should expect from these players based on their situations, their opportunity, and their talent. But before we get into the video, please guys, if y'all have not already, go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. We work harder than any other fantasy football channel on YouTube. We live stream for 3 to 4 hours every single night. And on top of that, 3 or 4 videos every single day. I may do some surprise live streams throughout the day. I would say either on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, based on us having the ability to go out there and draft more fantasy football teams. And yeah, so have your notifications on, hit the bell next to the subscribe button, because we may go live just randomly. Now let's get into these 5 wide receivers, and the first guy that we need to talk about is Tyler Lockett. Okay, so with Tyler Lockett, yes, we all saw the insane performance. 15 receptions, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 20 targets. I mean, just absolutely insane. No other player on this Seattle Seahawks roster was able to be a significant use for Russell Wilson this game. You can make the argument that DK Metcalf did a good job commanding the defensive's attention, and on top of that, we all saw the DK Metcalf touchdown that was called back based on the holding at the very end of the game. Regardless, it does not matter. We are looking at Tyler Lockett, and we are looking at this performance, vaulting him up to being a current top 3 wide receiver in fantasy football. The reason I sound so excited about this is because Tyler Lockett has been one of our trade targets for the past 2 weeks. So thank y'all all so much for the kind DMs telling me that y'all were able to get Tyler Lockett on the cheap a week or 2 weeks ago. Because guys, I'm glad it paid off. Now what's awesome is if we are projecting Tyler Lockett for the rest of the season, this is a wide receiver that's already gone through his bye. This is a wide receiver that does not even need the volume to be able to put up this kind of performance, because even if the volume drops, we know he has the efficiency with Russell Wilson. So honestly guys, I can tell you right now, tomorrow when we make our sell high videos, Tyler Lockett is not going to be on that list. This is a player that we were excited about last week. This is a player that we are going to be excited about for the rest of the season. Now, our next wide receiver, I can't guarantee he's not going to make our sell high list, but he did see his value drastically jump up from where it was a week ago, and this is Diontae Johnson. Now with Diontae Johnson, he actually saw almost 10 receptions and almost 100 yards, but what was most impressive about this performance was not the touchdowns, it was not the raw fantasy points, it was that he commanded 15 targets in this game and really just completely erased Chase Claypool, erased James Washington, and it was just the Diontae Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster show. Obviously, if you watched this game, you saw that Malcolm Butler was on Chase Claypool for pretty much the entire game. But honestly, it does not matter. We're not trying to figure out what wide receiver is going to be most useful for the offense in commanding defensive attention. What we are trying to figure out is what wide receiver is going to score fantasy points. And Diontae Johnson scored a ton of them in week 7. Now, if we look at this wide receiver for the rest of the season, though, I don't think this is something we can confidently project the rest of the way, because we look at Chase Claypool, who only had 1 target, and that actually went for -2 yards. I think that obviously we are going to be expecting him to bounce back. Obviously, some of that production can come from Juju Smith-Schuster, who also had a very impressive day. But with Diontae Johnson, I think that this may be one of the only games for the rest of the year that he sees 15 targets with the emergence of Chase Claypool in this offense. And I think what we are going to end up seeing is this offense be very similar to Dallas whenever we had Dak Prescott, and that there was always going to be 2 wide receivers putting up high-end production, and then maybe one guy on a week-to-week basis that falls off and doesn't really see anything, just because all of these options are great. And we know Ben Roethlisberger is a fantastic NFL quarterback as well, but still, you cannot provide 3 consistent top 15 performances for wide receivers on the same offense unless that team is going to be putting up 45 points a game, and that would be almost impossible to predict. So honestly, guys, if you could sell Diontae Johnson for a wide receiver like Terry McLaurin plus a little, that's something that I would really like to do, just because we don't know if he is going to consistently be seeing this amount of targets. Now, our next wide receiver is someone that was right up there with Tyler Lockett. This was actually our number 1 wide receiver coming into 2020 based on the target share that he had projected in his offense, and that is Davante Adams. Now, Davante Adams in this game almost saw 50% of Green Bay's targets, just absolutely insane. And you cannot even say that he ran hot, because he just got so much opportunity that the efficiency was not even necessarily through the roof. I mean, he had over 15 targets, he had 13 receptions, almost 200 yards, but 2 touchdowns. And now, why I want to say that this is not his ultimate ceiling. Obviously, we're not going to project him to have a game like this down the road or anything, but I think that he didn't even hit that 99th percentile outcome, because we are looking at the scenario where multiple random wide receivers on this offense caught touchdowns. So with Davante Adams, honestly, he could have had a bigger day if he just got 1 more target in the red zone. And guys, this is what I was talking about when I said 2 weeks ago to sell Robert Tonyan. I mean, so many people in the live streams were wanting to value him near the Mark Andrews price point. And I was saying, guys, do not do that. Please go out there and sell him high, because when Davante Adams comes back, we thought Davante Adams was going to be seeing a 30% target share in this offense, nothing close to 45%. But still, the point is there that Davante Adams is going to soak up everything in Green Bay, where outside of the starting running back for this offense and Davante Adams, you don't want any other positional player in your starting lineup. Now, our next wide receiver is not in the stratosphere of those Tyler Lockett or Davante Adams, but still someone that is rising very fast in fantasy football, and this is Brandon Aiyuk. So yes, we all know Deebo Samuel suffered a hamstring injury against the New England Patriots. We saw Brandon Aiyuk really be able to command that number 1 wide receiver role in this offense. Now, that role is not necessarily going to be anything near as valuable as being the number 1 wide receiver with Aaron Rodgers, just because we know this is a run-first offense, and George Kittle is always going to be the leading receiver for this offense. But we have to understand that I think that Brandon Aiyuk really coming on strong as a rookie, just like all of these other rookie wide receivers that we are seeing. I mean, just a quick side note, this looks to be the best wide receiver class we possibly have ever seen in the NFL. Better than my favorite class of all time, the 2014 NFL draft class. I mean, just throughout the entire list, it looks like there are no wide receivers that are for sure bust that were selected in the first 2 rounds. Absolutely insane, the production we are getting here. Regardless, that's a small side note. And what I think we are going to see with Brandon Aiyuk is for him to continue to progress in this offense, as he's only had a couple full healthy games in San Francisco. And on top of this, they get the Seattle Seahawks next week, where we are going to expect a ton of pass attempts for everyone in this offense. Guys, I mean, it's going to be so hard to not start Brandon Aiyuk in week 8. And I think that this is a wide receiver that could turn himself into a must-start player every single week for you if we continue to see him progress. Now, our last wide receiver is someone that I got wrong this week. I did not tell many people to start him, just because we knew that both T. Higgins and AJ Green were going to get targets in this offense, and this is Tyler Boyd. Now, y'all know, if y'all hung out in the live streams, whenever anybody asked me a Tyler Boyd question, I kind of said it's sad, but it looks like Tyler Boyd is not going to be seeing the same amount of targets that he saw in 2019, just because there are great options in this offense in AJ Green and T. Higgins, and I don't know if there are going to be enough targets for the slot wide receiver for him really to maintain that wide receiver 2 status. But honestly, he came out and looked like a wide receiver 1. I don't necessarily think it was anything based to do about Tyler Boyd. If anything, our analysis looked to be extremely correct, with both AJ Green and T. Higgins having really large roles on this offense. But the thing is, Joe Burrow does not care. Joe Burrow is going to continue to be one of the highest volume passers in the entire NFL. And when that is going on, I think all three of these wide receivers are going to be players that you can put into your starting lineup if you need someone for your flex, especially going through the bye weeks. But thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, please make sure you go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you know when we go live, you can come in and get your questions answered. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all, and have a great week.